You finding this message right now, your finger clicking on that thumbnail wasn't random chance. Carl Jung called this synchronicity. It's when external events in the world intersect meaningfully with something shifting inside you. You didn't choose this moment. This moment chose you. Before we go any further, there's something critical I need you to understand. The fact that you're hearing my voice right now, that these words are reaching your consciousness at this exact second of your life. This isn't YouTube's algorithm or luck. This is a cause and effect relationship coming from the future, your future self. The version of you who's already living that victory you're still rehearsing. Who's completed that transformation, has sent a signal backward through time and space, through the quantum field. And that signal found you right here, right now, because you're close. You've never been this close. You're so close that the electromagnetic signature of your potential has started seeping into your biology. Your nervous system is rewiring itself in real time. You're so close that your old version, that old mask, as Jung would call, it is thrashing around, trying to survive. But it's losing the battle. Deep in your body, beneath the doubts, beneath the exhaustion, beneath that voice constantly telling you you're not ready yet to feel something, don't you? A hum, a pull, a frequency you can't explain to anyone. When you try to put it into words, it sounds crazy, but it's there. It's always been there. If you're listening to me right now, it means the universe has turned up the volume. The truth about your exhaustion, let me tell you what's actually happening to you. You're exhausted. But this isn't the kind of tired that a solid night's sleep can fix. This isn't burnout from working too hard or worrying too much. You're exhausted because you're living in two different timelines simultaneously, and your body can't tell which one is real anymore. Here's what those personal development books and know-it-all gurus don't tell you about transformation. When you're on the verge of a major breakthrough, your entire energy system gets thrown into chaos. Your cells are literally reorganizing themselves. The neural pathways in your brain are cutting old connections and struggling to build new ones. Your heart has started generating a completely different electromagnetic field than it was 6 months ago. You're becoming someone new, and that old youth, that identity you've carried for years, is dying. That deep exhaustion you feel, that's what this is. That seemingly meaningless anxiety. Those 3 a.m. wake-ups, you're not failing. You're just about to give birth to a new version of yourself. And just like actual childbirth, right before the moment of birth, the pain becomes unbearable. The contractions intensify. The pressure peaks. That's the moment when everyone wants to give up, when they'd give anything to go back. But you can't go back, because new life has already started its journey. Your biology is preparing youth. Future is showing itself. And your task right now isn't to push harder. Your task is to breathe through this transition and trust that your body knows what it's doing. Because while your mind has been stuck in analysis paralysis, while your thoughts have been trapped in the when question, your body has been preparing for this new version of reality. Your cells don't care about. When your cells live in vibration, in frequency, in the electromagnetic reality of who you're becoming, they've been building a landing strip for that future your personality hasn't caught up to yet. Those visions that won't leave you alone, the ones that feel too big, too impossible, too far from who you are right now, those aren't delusions. They're instructions, they're updates from a version of you that already exists in the quantum field, in the collective unconscious, trying to bring you into alignment with itself. Those ideas that wake you up at night aren't disturbances, they're invitations. Your future self is knocking on the door, and it's not being polite anymore, because you're so close. Between two worlds you're so close that the timeline you're living in and the timeline you're transforming into are starting to blur together. That's why everything feels so intense right now. You can't focus on old problems anymore. Your job that used to feel normal now feels suffocating. Relationships that used to work now feel misaligned. You look in the mirror and barely recognize yourself because who you're seeing isn't exactly you, at least not the old you. You're between two worlds. You're in that gap between death and birth. And here's the truth. Nobody tells you about being this close to victory. The closer you get, the louder your old personality screams, because it knows it's going to die, and it will do anything, absolutely anything to survive. It'll whisper doubts in your most confident moments. It'll manufacture crises to distract you. It'll pull you toward old patterns, finished relationships, old addictions. It'll do whatever it takes to keep you at that familiar frequency, because a known hell is safer than an unknown heaven, and your old self has lived in that hell so long that it calls it home. But here's the reality. That old version, the doubting one, the hesitating one, the one that sees itself as small and calls it humility, only exists because you keep feeding it. It survives because you keep choosing its thoughts, its feelings, and its behaviors. And the moment you stop doing that, it'll disappear. Not over time, not gradually, suddenly, just like a wave collapses into a particle when observed. The quantum possibility, your old personality, was just a quantum possibility you kept making real by repeating it every day. But you're about to break that cycle. I can feel it. More importantly, you can feel it. That's why you're here. You're right at the threshold of what Jung called the individuation process, the path to your wholeness. In the mitochondria of your cells, in the firing pattern of your neurons, in the rhythm of your heart, The new you is already online. It's just waiting for you to stop resurrecting the old. Before every great victory comes a death. Every resurrection requires a crucifixion, and you were feeling your own funeral without realizing it was actually a coronation. The chaos in your external world, the things falling apart, the changing plans, the people leaving, these aren't proof you're lost. They're proof you're shedding your skin. A snake doesn't mourn its old skin. A caterpillar doesn't cry over its cocoon. And you can't carry your old personality into the new frequency. It doesn't fit there. It can't survive there. The vibration is too high, so the universe, in its infinite intelligence, is doing you a favor. It's burning away everything that doesn't fit where you're going. I know it hurts. I know it feels like loss. Sometimes you look around and think, is this really what transformation looks like? Yes, this is exactly what it looks like. Because you're not just changing your circumstances. You're changing your state. You're not achieving a new outcome. You're becoming a new person. The work of transformation, and on the other side of this process stands your victorious version. It's not hoping things work out. It's not doubting its worth. It's not questioning the timing. It just exists. It exists in the frequency of what's already done. And from that state, external reality has no choice but to align. But here's where most people break. You can't transform through addition. You can't add confidence on top of insecurity. You can't add abundance on top of scarcity consciousness. You have to subtract. You have to allow the death. And that's going to be scary. Because the old you is familiar, known, predictable. Even if it hurts, at least you know how to be that person. But that winning new you, that's uncharted territory. An unknown frequency. A state you've never fully inhabited before, and your brain, that magnificent, survival-focused, pattern-seeking organist, screaming at you to go back, telling you it's dangerous, parading every past failure as proof you should quit, calling up every voice that ever doubted you, and playing it on repeat. Because your brain doesn't want you to grow. Your brain wants you to survive. And biologically, survival means conserving energy, which means avoiding risk. But you didn't come here just to survive. You came here to thrive, to create, to become, and that requires overriding the factory settings, rewiring your neural pathways. That's what's happening in your neurophysiology right now. The brain is built through repetition. Every thought you've had, every emotion you've felt, every action you've taken has built neural pathways, electrical and chemical highways, where your consciousness automatically flows. And the more you use a pathway, the stronger it gets. So, if you've spent years thinking doubtful thoughts, feeling unworthy emotions, taking fear-based actions, you've got superhighways leading to that old personality. Meanwhile, your confident, abundant, powerful new self is just a dirt path, barely visible, covered in weeds. That's why when you try to think a new thought or feel a new feeling, your brain objects. It says, no, this isn't the way we know. Let's take that familiar highway. Overcoming this requires effort. It requires consciousness, intention, and energy. That's why transformation is so exhausting. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're fighting 30, 40, 50 years of biological programming. You're rewiring yourself in real time. And the only way to build that new path, to strengthen it until it becomes your default state, is through relentless repetition in the opposite direction. New thoughts every day. New emotions every day. New actions every day. Until that dirt path becomes a highway, and that old highway, starved of attention and energy, starts to decay. This is how you become someone new. Not by wishing, not by hoping, but by practicing being that person before the evidence shows up. That's where faith comes in. Quantum faith. I'm not talking about religious faith or blind faith. I'm talking about quantum faith. Understanding that the field responds to vibration, not desperation. The universe doesn't give you what you want. It gives you who you are. And right now, in this moment, you're in the messy middle of your formation. You're not the old you anymore, but you're not fully the new you yet. You're in the quantum void. Most people give up right here, right at this threshold. They get tired of the contradiction, the cognitive dissonance, living in two worlds at once. So they return to the familiar. They choose known pain over unknown freedom. And they tell themselves a story. I knew it wouldn't work. I knew this wasn't for me. But that story is a lie. It's just the old personality trying to protect itself. Because here's what I need you to understand. The universe was about to say yes. The door was about to open. The frequency match was about to happen. But you hesitated. You returned to the old feeling, the old thought, the old story, and the quantum field said, okay, you're choosing this timeline. Understood. The mirror of reality. This isn't punishment. This isn't rejection. It's just reflection. Because that's how the system works. As Jung pointed out, the external world is a mirror of the internal world. The quantum field shows you exactly who you are, not what you want. So if you're vibrating at the frequency of Lakivan while making abundance, affirmations with your mouth, the field will reflect that lack. If you're vibrating in Fairvin while visualizing success with your mind, the field will reflect that fear. Your reality isn't created by your words. Your reality is created by your state. And your state is determined by the thoughts you think, the emotions you feel, and the actions you take when nobody's watching. Who you are when you're alone, when the mask drops, when the performance ends. When it's just you and the truth of your internal frequency, that's the you the universe responds to. Not the you posting on social media, not the you showing up in public, not the you saying the right things, the you that exists in silence. The you your body broadcasts 24/7 through your heart's electromagnetic field, and right now, whether you realize it or not, that you is changing. The signal is shifting. The frequency is rising. The universe is starting to respond. That's why you're seeing that's why you keep encountering the same message from different sources. That's why this video found you at exactly the right time. You're tuning into a new reality. The problem is, your personality or ego is still trying to control the process, still trying to figure out the how, still trying to force the timing, to manipulate the outcome. Surrender and trust, but you can't microwave a baby. You can't rush birth, and you can't force a quantum leap. You can only create the conditions for it. You can only be its frequency, and then surrender. Let the field do its work. Let the intelligence that governs billions of galaxies handle the details of your little manifestation, because it knows the way. It knows the timing. It knows the how. Your job isn't to know. Your job is to be, to embody the vibration of your future self so completely that your current reality has no choice but to dissolve and reorganize around your new signal, and that's the beautiful, terrifying, exhilarating truth. You're almost there. You're so close that your future self is bleeding into your present moment. You're so close that the old timeline is collapsing, and the new one is emerging. You're so close that the universe is about to move heaven and earth to deliver what you've become. Your heart's electromagnetic field, but right now, in your body, beneath your conscious awareness, something is happening that you can't see. When you understand this, everything will change. Because if you're going to win, you need to know what's happening inside this vehicle that's carrying you to the finish line. Your body isn't what you think it is. I need you to hear this, because everything you've been taught, everything culture sold you, is built on the lie that your body is just a transportation device, a biological robot. You operate from behind your eyes. But that's not true. Your body is a field, a broadcast system, an electromagnetic system sending signals into the quantum soup of reality every single moment. And that signal, that frequency, doesn't come from your thoughts. It comes from your heart. Let me give you some science, and then I'll show you why this changes everything. Your heart produces an electromagnetic field 5,000 times more powerful than your brain's. 5,000 times. This field extends outward from your body in every direction, about 8 to 10 feet. It touches everyone you pass on the street. It fills every room you enter. It saturates the space around you with information. And what that information says is this: you are not who you think you are. You are not who you're trying to be. You are, at the level of state, at the level of emotion, at the level of energetic reality, who you actually are. In the universe, that intelligent, responsive, holographic field we're all swimming in isn't listening to your words. It's reading your signal. It's feeling the frequency your heart broadcasts, and it gives you more of that. So if your heart is producing a frequency of lack of I don't have enough, I'm not enough, it hasn't happened yet, the field responds with experiences that perpetuate that lack. Not because the universe is punishing you, because the universe is matching you. It's a mirror, a perfect, impartial, compassionate mirror, the new frequency, and, right now, in this moment, your heart is broadcasting something new. I can tell, because you're still here. You're still listening, and somewhere in your chest, beneath the fear, beneath the doubt, beneath the exhaustion, there's a vibration, like a knowing, like a certainty, like a quiet, unshakable truth that everything is about to change. This isn't hope. Hope is future-focused. Hope says, maybe someday. What you're feeling is different. This is a leak. This is your future self, the one who's already won, already arrived, already embodied the victory, reaching through time and touching your biology. And your heart is starting to remember. Here's what they don't tell you about the heart. It doesn't just pump blood. It thinks, it remembers. It senses the future before the brain does. Your heart contains an entire neural network, neurons with the same biology as those in your brain, and it sends more signals to your brain than your brain sends to it. Your heart is talking to your mind, and what it's saying is, we're ready. The biology is ready. The field is ready. Stop trying to think your way there and start feeling your way there. The formula bigus: thought alone doesn't create reality. Thought combined with elevated emotion does. That's the formula. That's the alchemy. That's how you collapse quantum possibility into physical manifestation. You think a thought about the future, and you feel the emotion of that future as if it's already happened. When these two elements lock in coherence, when mind and heart are broadcasting the same signal, you create a new electromagnetic signature. A signature the field has never received from you before, and the field responds by bringing you experiences that match this new signature. But here's where most people fail. They try to feel grateful for what they want, but they feel lack when they look at their empty bank account. They try to feel victorious, but they still live with a fighter identity, and it doesn't work, because the body doesn't believe them. The body keeps score. And it knows the truth, that it knows it's been in survival mode for years. It knows it's been marinating in cortisol and adrenaline. It knows its default state is stress, fear, and scarcity. So when you sit down to meditate and try to feel abundant, your body says, no, our program isn't this. Our program is survive, stay alert, scarcity. That's what we know. That's what's safe, and it pulls you back to the old feeling. Release the old energy, not because you're broken, but because you're trying to skip a step. You can't just leap from fear to freedom. First, you have to metabolize the old emotion. You have to release it, let it go. Allow it to move through your system, because emotions are energy. And energy doesn't disappear, it transforms. That years-long stress, disappointment, accumulation of not jets, it's all stored in your body, in your tissues, in your fascia, in the cells that should be building your future. And until you clear this old energy, you're trying to broadcast a new signal through a clogged antenna. The signal won't get through. The message won't land. So how do you clear it? Through breath, through staying present, through sitting in the fire of the emotion without running from it, without suppressing it, without making it mean something about your worth. Just feeling it, observing it, allowing it to move, because the only way out is through. And on the other side of that, release beyond that grief you've been ignoring for years. That rage, that terror you finally allowed yourself to feel. There's a field, clean, open, a clear, electromagnetic field. That's when the new emotion can land. That's when gratitude stops being a performance and becomes a state. That's when abundance stops being a concept and becomes a cellular reality. That's when your heart starts broadcasting a signal so pure, so coherent, so undeniable that the universe has no choice but to respond. Do the work, but you have to do the work. You have to sit with the uncomfortable truth of who you've been. Not to shame yourself, not to wallow, but to honor it, to see it, to be able to say, this was the personality I chose when I didn't know I had other options. This was the frequency I lived in because it's what I learned. And now I'm making a different choice. This is a death. It's the crucifixion of the old self, what Jung called confronting the shadow. And it doesn't look pretty. It's not Instagram. It's messy and raw. Sometimes it feels like you're falling apart, but you're not falling apart. You're breaking open, and what comes through those cracks is the real you. The you beneath the conditioning, beneath the trauma, beneath the stories about who you thought you had to be to survive. The you who doesn't need to prove anything, who doesn't have to earn love or worth or success, who just is, being, not becoming. In from that place of being. From that I am state independent of conditions, everything shifts. Because you're not trying to get somewhere anymore. You're already there. You're living from the end, from the outcome. While your present reality is still trying to catch up. You're embodying the frequency of the future. And that's the game-changing move. Let me say it again, because this is the key to everything. The moment you stop trying to get there and start being the frequency of what's already done, the entire hologram changes. Not tomorrow, not eventually. Now in that microsecond when you make that energetic choice, you shift to a new timeline. The quantum field reorganizes around your new state, and experiences, people, opportunities that match that state start moving toward you. Not because you've got lucky, not because you manifested harder, because you became a different signal. And the universe does what it always does, matches your frequency. Hold the line, but here's the hard part, the part that separates those who break through from those who stay stuck. You have to maintain this state. You can't visit it for 5 minutes in meditation and then return to your old self for the other 23 hours and 55 minutes of the day. You have to live there. You have to think from that state, feel from that state, move from that state, even when three-dimensional reality hasn't changed yet, even when your bank account still shows zero, even when relationships still look broken, even when everyone around you still treats you like the old version. You have to hold the line, because the field is testing you, not to punish you, not to make you prove yourself, to see if you're serious. Is this new personality just a costume you wear when it's convenient, or is it actually who you've become? And most people fail this test. They meditate, they feel the elevated emotion, they enter that state, and then they go back into life. Someone cuts them off in traffic, or their boss says something harsh, or they see their ex with someone new, and boom, straight back to the old feeling, the old thought, the old frequency, and the universe says, oh, you're still that person. Got it? And the manifestation delays. Not because you're being punished, because energetically, you're not coherent yet. You're still ping-ponging between two personalities, and the field can't deliver to a moving target. Become the signal. It needs a clear, consistent, unwavering signal. So your only job is to be that signal. Stop negotiating with your old self. Stop letting the external world dictate your internal state. Stop giving your power to circumstances, other people's opinions, timeline, and just be the frequency of victory. All day, in every conversation, in every decision, in every thought, not as a performance, not as effort, but as the truth of who you are right now. Because you're not preparing for a victory. You're not training for a victory. You're remembering that the victorious version of you already exists. Not in the future, not as a possibility, But right now, in the quantum field, as a fully formed, fully realized reality, and all you're doing is collapsing the wave, choosing that timeline over the other one, tuning your dial to that frequency, and refusing to change the station. The coronation in the moment you do that, the moment you fully commit to being this person, to feeling this emotion, to living this life in your inner world. The external world has no choice but to conform, not because you forced it, because that's the law. Energy comes before matter. Frequency comes before form. Who you are always determines what you have. You've been doing it backwards. You were waiting for the evidence to show up so you could feel like a winner. You were waiting for the money to hit the account so you could feel abundant. You were waiting for the relationship to appear so you could feel loved. But that's not how the system works. First, you feel. You generate the emotion in your body independent of external conditions. You become so saturated in the feeling of your fulfilled desire that your cells are swimming in it. Only then does the hologram reorganize to match. This is the game, and you're about to win. But first, someone has to die. The person playing a role, the person waiting for permission, the person waiting for approval, the person seeing themselves as small and calling it being realistic. That person has to go. Not violently, not with shame, with gratitude, because that person got you here. They kept you safe when you needed safety, but you don't need safety anymore. You need expansion. And expansion requires stepping into the unknown, being someone you've never been before, broadcasting a frequency you've never broadcast before, trusting a process you can't see, control, or understand. The final battle, this is an initiation, and you're right in the middle of it. The old personality is screaming, kicking, doing everything it can to pull you back. It's showing you every past failure, whispering every doubt, making you question everything, because it knows this is the end, and it's fighting for its life. But you need to understand something. This struggle, this resistance, it's not a sign you're doing something wrong. It's a sign you're doing everything right, because the old self only fights this hard when it knows it's losing. When you were safely stuck in the old pattern, it didn't need to fight. You were already choosing it. But now you're choosing something else, and the stakes have never been higher. Because this isn't just about success or money or what you'll achieve. This is about identity, about who you are at the deepest level of your being. And the old personality knows that if you win this battle, it will cease to exist, not as a future possibility, but now, immediately, completely. So it's pulling out every weapon it has. Fear, doubt, distraction, old addictions, toxic relationships, self-sabotage, everything that might stop you from taking that final step, everything that might prevent you from fully becoming the void. But you're not going to fall for it this time, are you? Because something feels different now. The old tricks aren't working like they used to. The old stories aren't having the same impact. The old feeling is losing its grip. And in this gap, this space between who you were and who you're becoming, there's a choice. The most important choice you'll make. Are you going back? Or are you finally going to let it die? And when you finally choose to let it die fully, completely, irreversibly, here's what happens. The void opens. Silence descends. Everything you used to define yourself with, your struggles, your story, your identity as a victim or the unlucky one, it all dissolves. And for a moment, you're nobody. You're in free fall in the quantum field with no anchor, no reference point, no map. And this is terrifying, because the void is where most people panic and resurrect the corpse. They can't handle the void, the uncertainty, the loss of the familiar self, so they cling to the old personality like a life raft. Even if it's sinking, even if it's drowning them, because at least it's familiar. At least they know how to be that person. But you're going to do something different. You're going to stay in that void. You're going to sit in the fire of the unknown and let it burn away everything that's not real. Birth. In the void. And then what happens? What most people give up right before this is where your archetypal hero is born. That void isn't actually empty. I know it feels that way. I know when you sit in meditation and there's no feeling, no vision, nothing but that vast humming emptiness. It feels like you're lost, but you're not lost. You've arrived, because the void is where creation happens. It's the quantum field in its purest form. Pure potential, unmanifested reality, waiting for a signal to collapse around. And when you can just be there, when you can be nobody, wanting nothing, needing nothing, just existing as awareness in the field, that's when everything changes. Because you're not interfering anymore. You're not trying to control the outcome. You're not collapsing the wave with your fear or impatience or doubt. You're just allowing. And when you dare to stay in that nothingness, in that nowhere, here's what happens. You become a pure resonator. Your heart, cleared of the old drama, the old fear, the old need to control, can finally broadcast the pure, uncalculated frequency of the victory that already exists. You stop struggling, pushing, analyzing, you just allow. You become the soil that receives the seed, the harbor that receives the ship, and in that moment of radical surrender, you discover you didn't need to know the how. You just needed to trust. The final choice: trust. What? The intelligence that brought you here, the frequency your future self is broadcasting backward through time to find you. You stop being the seeker and become the finder. And when you do, when you finally become that frequency the universe can't resist. It can't violate its own law. It has to reflect what you've become. That's why the victory you've been dreaming of isn't in the future. It's not outside you. It's not a reward you have to earn. It's a consequence of the person you choose to be. It's the vibrational echo of your new state. So right now, in this second, before you close this video, make the final and most important choice. Stop resurrecting the dead. Stop feeding the old you. Breathe into the void. Hold that frequency dot and watch as you transform. Watch the hologram of your reality shift to match the new you. The victory isn't soon. The victory is where you are. Right now. Victory is yours.